Hi guys, this is going to be a very quick video, I hope. And the topic today is going to be pointers. So again, we have this HackerRank challenge that wants us to practice using pointers. Now, pointers are very, very important. Here we are using pointers in C. These concepts of pointers is also applicable in C++. And basically, it's a way to share memory addresses among different contexts. So a pointer is a variable that stores the memory address of another variable. And this is super important because it allows you to modify the contents of a variable directly in a function. So, in our previous video, we dealt with a function that returned an integer. But let's say, for instance, we wanted to modify directly the contents of 10 or 20 variables. How would we do that? We can't return 20 variables unless you return maybe an array and then you read the elements from that array. But, in this case, we are going to be dealing also with integers, but then we are going to be using pointers to directly manipulate or modify the contents of those integer variables. So we call this passing by reference, the way you pass in a pointer to a function because you are passing the address basically. So we call this passing by reference. And then if you want to modify the value stored at a specific memory address, then you need to dereference the pointer and then modify, the value stored at the address that it holds. Now, if this sounds a bit confusing or, it just goes over your head, I have these links right here. I will try and link them in the description of this video, but if I don't, please make sure you remind me and then I will make sure to add them. So this link is from, it looks like it's from an educational institution based on the link, probably from Singapore. And it's pretty exhaustive. They have samples, diagrams and everything. And then also this Stack Overflow post, which explains probably better than I did the meaning of referencing and dereferencing. So again, I will try and link those pages in my video description. But let's get started right now. What we have to do is we need to complete the void update function, which takes in two pointers, integer pointers, A and B, right? And they are pointers because they have these asterisk symbol before them. So we already have some basic code here, and this is what we have to complete this function right here, void updates. Now, how are we supposed to complete it? First of all, we need to read in the two integers as arguments. Then we need to set A. So this A variable here, we need to set it to the sum of A and B. And they have this example right here. And then B, this variable B, we need to modify its contents to be equal to the absolute difference between A and B, basically. So inputs, we get A and B, and then we have to print out the updated values of those pointers, of those variables. And we do that using pointers. So the simple inputs, for instance, if you pass in 4 and 5, you should get 9, which is the sum between 4 and 5, and 1, which is the absolute difference between 4 and 5. Now, make sure you pay attention to this absolute difference because you're not supposed to return a negative number. Like if you do 4 minus 5, you will get negative 1. But in this case, we only want the absolute difference. The difference is 1. Between 4 and 5, there's only 1 as difference. So let's get started. It should be very easy, this one. So to complete this function, first of all, I'm going to store the initial value of A in a temporary variable, and you will know why very soon. So I'm going to have int temp, and I'm going to set it to the value stored in A right here. Now again, you can see A and B, but A and B don't actually refer to this. They refer to these PA and PB, which in this case is pointer for A and pointer for B. So when we receive these pointers, we need to dereference them to read the values that they are stored, that they are storing. So pointer A is storing the address of the variable A. Pointer B is storing the address of variable B, right? So the values of A and B is what we want. In this case, I want the value of A. So I'm going to dereference the value of the pointer we are passing, which when we call that function in our main function is going to be PA, the pointer PA. Now I want to set the value of A. So again, I'm dereferencing because I'm dealing with the contents. So I want to make this the sum of A and B. So I can simply use plus equal B. This is the same thing as writing A plus B like this, okay? But it's kind of neater, to write it like this. Now the next thing, I want B to be equal to the absolute difference between A and B. So first, I have C math here, which I included. I think it won't be included in the given code for that exercise. So make sure you include C math right here. And then I want B to be equal to the initial value of A, because we've already modified A now. The value has changed. So I want the initial value of A, which I've stored in temp, and I want it to be equal to temp minus B. But remember, I said we need the absolute difference. So this could return a negative number. Like as we saw here, if we pass in 4 and 5, we're going to get -1. So we need to use absolutes. Now here we are not using, like in previous video, using namespace std, right? We are not using that. It's not given by default. You can add it if you want. But another way, you can simply have std and then abs. And that function will return the absolute difference between two numbers right here. All right, so let's test this out if it works. First of all, let's run the code. It passes, right? Remember here we have the pointers. Scanf, we accept 2 numbers as input, then we update. We call the update function. When we pass in our pointers, we read the values and modify them, and then we print out the results right here. Let's now submit this code to test if it passes, all the test cases, and it does. So this challenge is done. We've passed it again. If you have any questions, please make sure you drop them in the comment section. Let me know what you want me to cover next. Please subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I will catch you next time. Bye.